Good day, here are today's top stories from the Pna Headlines. President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. arrived in Washington, D.C. early Monday for a three-day official visit aimed to deepening strategic partnerships with the United States. President Marcos's plane landed at Joint Base Andrews at 2:48 p.m. Sunday or 2:48 a.m. Monday, Manila time. He was welcomed by Philippine Ambassador to the U.S. Jose Manuel Romualdez and U.S. Ambassador to the Philippines Mary Kay Carlson. President Marcos Jr. and U.S. President Donald Trump are expected to hold discussions on strengthening bilateral cooperation, particularly in areas of economic development and security. Among the priorities of his visits are enhancing trade and economic cooperation, especially in light of the recently posted 20% U.S. tariffs imposed on Philippine exports. President Marcos Jr. also intended to convey to Trump and his cabinet officials that the country is ready to negotiate a bilateral trade deal that will ensure strong, mutually beneficial, and future-oriented collaborations. He is scheduled to meet with various business leaders to explore opportunities that will further grow the country's economy. President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. appealed to the public to be more responsible in using the advancements brought about by digitalization. This amid concerns over the spread of online gambling, scamming, and misinformation. In his latest video vlog, Marcos stressed that technology is used to make lives easier and strengthen the family. The president lamented the internet has made online gambling easier to access, which eventually harms society. He made the remarks amid mounting calls from lawmakers and civic groups to stop online gambling operations in the country. Marcos also emphasized the need to prevent the misuse of emerging technologies such as artificial intelligence. He said that while AI has many benefits such as wider access to information, it could also be used to create and spread fake news and scams. The president meanwhile highlighted the administration's continued efforts towards digitalization. These include the rollout of public Wi-Fi, the national fiber backbone, internet access for schools, and digital platforms such as eGov Super App.
Teknolohiya ay nandito para padaliin ang ating buhay, para ilihis ang pamahalaan sa korupsyon, para maging mabilis ang proseso, para mapaganda ang edukasyon, ang healthcare at ang kalakalan. Higit sa lahat para magtaguyod at magbuklod ng pamilyang Pilipino, hindi para sirain ito.
The Department of Human Settlements and Urban Development, or DHSUD, has prepared emergency shelter assistance for families affected by severe tropical storm Crising. In response to President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.'s directive to respond to the effects of the cyclone, the DHSUD said it asked the International Organization for Migration for 5,000 shelter-grade tarpaulins to be distributed in the hardest-hit areas, particularly Western Visayas and Negros Island. DHSUD is also coordinating with local government units to implement the Integrated Disaster Shelter Assistance Program, which was launched under the Marcos administration. The aid program grants 30,000 pesos to families whose homes were totally destroyed and 10,000 pesos to those with partially damaged houses. DHSUD Undersecretary for Disaster Response Henry Yap said the agency has prepared the necessary post-disaster assistance to the affected families. In its 8 a.m. update, the National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council, or NDRRMC, reports that Tropical Cyclone Crising and the southwest monsoon damaged 1,234 houses in Region 1, Region 2, Calabarzon, Region 6, Region 9, Region 10, Region 11, Region 12, Caraga, Barm, Car, and Negros Island region. The weather disturbances also damaged 44 infrastructure sites worth over 219 million pesos. Meanwhile, the NDRRMC reported 2 confirmed fatalities, 1 injured and 7 missing. The inclement weather affected over 225,000 families or over 800,000 individuals in 1,556 barangays. The government has extended assistance worth 50 million pesos to over 63,000 families. President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. praised boxing legend Manny Pacquiao for uniting and inspiring the nation following his comeback match against Mario Barrios on Sunday in Las Vegas. In a social media post, President Marcos said Pacquiao gave Filipinos something far greater than win, which is pride and unity. Pacquiao stood toe-to-toe with the younger and bigger Barrios in a 12-round battle. One judge gave a narrow 115 to 113 in favor of Barrios, while the two others scored 114 to 114, resulted into a majority draw. President Marcos noted that Pacquiao's fight against a younger and bigger opponent at the age of 46 reminded the world that the Filipino spirit never backs down. Pacquiao's boxing's only 8th division world champion and a former senator had not fought professionally since year 2021. In our business news, the Department of Trade and Industry, or DTI, encouraged online merchants to apply for a digital badge that will help boost their credibility as businesses. In a PTV's Bagong Pilipinas Ngayon program on Friday, DTI Assistant Secretary for the E-Commerce Bureau, lawyer Marcos Valdez II, said that registration with the E-Commerce Philippines Trust Mark is currently voluntary. The establishment of E-Commerce Philippines Trust Mark is mandated under Republic Act 11967, also known as the Internet Transactions Act of 2023. Valdez said the badge assures online consumers that the business operations are legitimate, which in turn assures income for online merchants.
Ang purpose po ng Trust Mark is para magkaroon po ng assurance ng safety and security po dun sa transaction ng consumer at ng merchant. So kailangan po magkaroon ng tiwala. Ang benefit po nito is para to build trust po dun sa kanyang services na ginagawa. Wag po natin kalimutan na ang Internet Transactions Act is also for the benefit of both the consumer and the online merchant. So secondary benefit na lang po yung makapag-generate po si merchant ng sale. Ang importante po to is we build the trust.
Valdez said online merchants need to submit the requirements such as business registration with the DTI and the Bureau of Internal Revenue and import commodity clearance. He added that online sellers can check trustmark.dti.gov.ph for other requirements and the registration process. The process can only be done through the website, but Valdez stated that the plan to have a mobile application that can be linked to the eGov.ph application of the government. In other news, Finance Secretary Ralph Recto reported that tax collections of both the Bureau of Internal Revenue, or BIR, and the Bureau of Customs, or BOC, went up in June this year. In a recent informal press chat, Recto said that the BIR has collected a total of 200.52 billion pesos, an increase from 170.03 billion pesos in the same month last year. Recto said increase was driven by value-added tax, excise tax, and corporate income tax. Customs, meanwhile, collected 77 billion pesos, slightly up from 74.6 billion in June of 2024. Recto encouraged the BOC leadership under new Commissioner Ariel Nepomuceno to fast-track initiatives to increase collection efficiency. And those are the latest and the biggest stories from the PNA headlines. For more news updates, visit our website pna.gov.ph or our Facebook and X account, Philippine News Agency. You may also watch the PNA headlines through the Philippine News Agency's YouTube account and via the News and Information Bureau website under PNA News. I am William Theo. This is the PNA headlines, bringing you stories that unite the nation.